Hi there. I just want to do a quick mental health video. I know the world we're living in these days, if you're paying attention, can be a very stressful world. I know that sometimes we're caught up in our own personal lives and we don't really, or we're not really aware the way that we should be on how much suffering exists in this world, especially right now in countries where there is just complete chaos and anarchy and social disorder. So I want to talk a little bit today about mental illness and understanding mental illness. I'm going to be using something that I got off the internet from the Canadian Mental Health Association in Toronto. And so I'm just going to talk about what is mental illness and what are some of its causes and can you recover from mental illness. So first off, mental illness, get the facts. So mental illness, when we hear those words, many of us feel a little uncertain or uneasy because we don't understand what mental illness is. And perhaps we feel a little scared because of the images of mental illness we see in the media. What is mental illness? The brain is the most complex organ in the human body. Mental illness occurs when the brain, just like any organ such as the heart or the kidneys, is not working the way it should. Mental illness is a collection of disorders such as depression, bipolar disorder, depression, and anxiety. The symptoms can range from loss of motivation and energy, changed sleep patterns, extreme mood swings, disturbances in thought or perception, or overwhelming obsession or fears. Mental illness interferes with relationships and affects a person's ability to function on a day-to-day basis, often leading to social isolation. So I'm going to stop there and just say that the ways that our society is set up right now is that there are many people that are experiencing social isolation. So just keep that in mind as I'm reading more facts and information about mental illness. Who gets mental illness? Most people believe that mental disorders are rare and happen to someone else. In fact, mental illnesses are common and widespread. Statistics show that 1 in every 5 Canadians will have a mental health problem at some point in their lives. Mental illness affects males and females, young and old, and is found in every ethno-cultural and socio-economic group. What causes mental illness? Most health professionals and researchers believe that mental illness is usually the result of an interaction of physical, environmental, and social factors. Physical factors can include a person's individual genetic makeup, so it could be a chemical imbalance, which may put them at higher risk for developing a mental illness. Factors can also include physical trauma, such as a brain injury or the misuse of substances such as street drugs or alcohol. So I had a doctor's visit yesterday, and I was asked the question, what causes mental illness, and so she basically told me that there's two kind of major causes of mental illness, and the one is that there could be a triggering event, so something happened to you that was probably very traumatic, and that can cause mental illness. Another cause of mental illness is, like chemical imbalance, and so in your genetics and that sort of thing. So just because someone is suffering from a mental illness doesn't necessarily mean that they experience some kind of loss, some trauma. That could be the cause for some people, but not for everybody. So, um, in my case, there was no trauma for me, so it could have just been a chemical imbalance and that sort of thing that just brought on the illness. So, and then there's environmental factors. So environmental factors that can negatively impact a person's mental health can include severe psychological trauma, such as war or sexual abuse, social factors such as where we live, whether we have a strong support networks like family, close family and friends who make us feel safe and who we can rely on, and our work environment impact our mental well-being. The amount of stress people are under and the duration of that stress can impact one's mental health, especially in situations where individuals are unable to change their circumstances. So think about what's going on in Afghanistan right now and how the whole country is under a huge amount of stress. And so that could be one cause for a mental health crisis in that country as well. Because if I'm going to read again what I just said. It says the amount of stress people are under and the duration of that stress can impact one's mental health, especially in situations where individuals are unable to change their circumstances. So, we're living in a pandemic. Uh, our governments are trying to do everything they can to help people, get vaccinated and come out of isolation eventually for some people. But there's a huge amount of stress that exists, not just in places where there's political conflict and war and crisis, but just in the world in general, where we see that because of restrictions and all kinds of things that are causing people to spend more time at home and possibly, not, people losing their jobs and not being able to work, there's probably, like a huge amount of people who are really could be affected by a mental illness in that sense if we're not careful. So how we're handling this pandemic is really crucial as well, because again, it's the amount of stress people are under. How long that stress lasts has an impact on our mental health, and especially in situations where we are unable to change our own circumstances, so where we feel trapped. And I mentioned Afghanistan, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who feel that way, like they feel like they've lost their future, they don't feel like they have hope. Anyway, so again, I'm just want to read, do people recover from mental illness? The answer is yes, people can and do recover from mental illness. There is no cure. I was talking to my nurse yesterday and asked the question, is there a cure for mental illness? And she said, there's no cure. But I do remember this being said to me at one point when I was attending groups at the Canadian Mental Health Association, that yes, people can and do recover. It's not cured, but you recover from mental illness. Recovery is a very individual thing and can be defined as living well in the presence or absence of symptoms. Hope, healing, and a sense of empowerment and social connections are key to an individual's recovery from mental illness. Recovery-focused social and psychiatric services, educational programs, affordable housing, and financial assistance are also key to recovery. And the earlier people get help, the better the outcome. So if you or someone you know appears to be developing the symptoms of a mental illness, it is important to seek help as soon as possible. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. May you guys may be blessed today and enjoy this life that God gave us to enjoy. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.